Welcome to WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. And now, here's your host, Randy Harris.
Last year, we visited with Irma June Capehart Burch, who was born in rural Pike County in February of 1928. A lot has changed over those past 11 decades. We talked about so many things, and we just scratched the surface.
This is Kyle Hathaway with Hathaway Excavating and Rock Yard. We have the equipment and crew to take care of your earth moving needs, septic installs, and digging out what you need dug out. We also deliver rock, and we maintain and pump septics. We're just a couple miles away. Call Hathaway Excavating at 812-582-2646.
WFPC is sponsored by the Dustin Schnare Agency for Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Dustin and his staff, including Tyler Dillon, are right here in Pike County. It's face-to-face, and they guide you through the process of insurance. Whether it's home, auto, farm, commercial, or life, the Dustin Schnare Agency is here to help. Call the Dustin Schnare Agency at 812-766-1117 or stop in at the new office on State Road 61 at Petersburg. This program is sponsored in part by Dr. Clint Schultz with Schultz Eye Care in Petersburg. Schultz Eye Care offers comprehensive dilated eye exams, contact exams, a huge selection of name brand frames for glasses and sunglasses, and if you buy a pair, get a second pair at 50% off and a year's supply of contacts at 25% off. Schultz Eye Care is an independent office and are open through the week except Tuesday afternoon. The phone number is 812-354-9400. So here we are again.
Yes.
Irma, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to see anybody.
You know, I didn't say that we're going to discuss this, but wow, this nation is turning 250 years old.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. I remember the 200th, but
Yeah.
gee.
Yeah.
What you grew up in Iva?
Yes.
A little bit west of Iva?
Yes.
And Algiers?
No, just a mile from the Ivy Church, and west of the Ivy Church on this. It was a dirt road, of course, but not as far as Algiers. Not that far.
Okay, but then you grew up on the Delectable Hill Farm,
Yes.
which I've always called the Ison Farm.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's quite a spot too.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of history, a lot of U.S. history between your cousin Homer Capehart,
Yes.
and John Foster Dulles'
Yes.
family, who is buried at Delectable Hill.
That's right.
John Foster Dulles was
Secretary of State, was he not?
yes, and his brother Alan, I think, was his name. Alan was head of the CIA back during the
Maybe
50s.
so. Yeah.
So there's a lot of history right there in
That's
Jefferson
right.
Township.
Yes.
I'm going to take you way back. What is your earliest memory? Do you have any really early memories?
I remember
visions?
I remember when my sister died in 1933, and see, I was born in 28, so I was just,
Four.
I remember when she died, but that was such a awful thing.
Traumatic.
Yes, dramatic thing. So that was I can remember back to 1933.
Okay, and then you remember through the Depression.
Yes.
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 Rural life was always a depression, though, wasn't it?
Pardon?
Rural life in rural,
Yes.
it was always poor. You never had money.
No, but I didn't feel like I was deprived of anything because we had such a good Christian home and we had love. My mother kept the house good and clean, and they were good, honest people. We had a lot of prayer. So I never felt,
Poor.
I didn't know that we weren't needy. We weren't needy.
You had chickens.
Chickens,
You
eggs.
had cows.
And
You had
eggs.
pigs, eggs.
Yes. And Dad had stallion horses. So we always had, then we had riding horses, and I always had a pony. I always wanted a bicycle. I never had a bicycle, but I always had a pony. And my girlfriends envied me for that. They'd rather had a pony than a bicycle. But
Now, growing up on that farm, I think you told us in our last visit your mom had a garden.
yes,
Now, Capehart, that's German, correct?
yes, it was called Geb. They were from Swiss descent, and the name was Gebhardt then, and someone changed it to Capehart in way back in the 1800s. I don't know just when, but it was Capehart then.
Now, the Germans I grew up around on the west side of Evansville, and both of my grandmas were Germans. You didn't waste anything.
No.
You would go from the head of that pig to the feet
Yes.
of the
yes,
pig.
Yes, we did.
And I worked in a little German butcher shop, grocery store. They had head cheese. They had pig knuckles.
Yes.
My dad was so proud of me when I got my first real job. We went to celebrate at Bockelman's restaurant, and we got brain sandwiches.
Ooh, that doesn't.
So you used that whole pig, didn't you? Your family would. I mean, they didn't throw away much, did
No,
they?
we didn't. And like I said, we always had plenty to eat, and we had a coal stove because we lived on it. We didn't have electricity.
That coal stove heated the house?
Yes,
Is it what you cooked on?
it was called a Nubian heater, a Nubian stove, and we burned kindling wood, and coal in it.
And it could do both.
Yes.
And that's what Mom cooked on?
Mom cooked on the cook stove in the kitchen. She had kindling, I guess you would say, for that.
Just little scraps of wood. Little scraps of wood.
Yes.
I'm going to jump ahead a couple of years. When World War II broke out, that would have been December 7th, 1941. You would have been 12?
Probably so, yes.
Do you remember where you were?
I remember exactly where I was. I was at the Ivy Church. It was on a Sunday night. And as we had a battery radio, we didn't play it all the time because the battery probably cost $3 or $4, and you didn't waste anything like that. So we didn't know that the war had been declared. And church was ready to start, and I was getting ready to go up to the piano. And someone told me about Pearl Harbor. That was Pearl Harbor, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. 1941, yeah.
Yeah. And you were playing. What was the reaction when your family and your church found out about it?
It was very sad. Naturally it was. But, I was so young that it didn't bother me as much as it did them.
Well, your previous generation, they'd been through World War I.
Yeah, yes.
So they knew what a world war, the effects of it. But you were just a kid.
Yes, that's right.
That church that you went to, the building is still there.
Built in 1902.
And what's the history on the building of that?
Well, one of my great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather, I think, was partly an instigator of it. And my dad's uncle Homer Kelso, dedicated the church in 1902. And that was my grandma Capehart. Her maiden name was Kelso. It was her brother that preached the dedication service.
So Homer Kelso, is that where Homer Capehart got his name?
That's where he got his name, yes. And is that what you asked?
Yes.
And my dad's name was Homer Emmett. And I've got some great grandsons, and Homer something. Homer was the name that they.
That was the family name.
Yes. Yeah.
So Irma, I think Homer Capehart.
Senator Capehart.
Yeah, his wife was an Irma.
And I was named after her. Her name was Irma Mueller Capehart. I remember her maiden name, and she was from Wisconsin, I believe. But that's who they named me after. I don't know where they got the June, but Irma was named after Irma Capehart.
The new generation, if a generation is 40 years, we've gone through a few generations since then. And today's community doesn't really remember much about Senator Homer Capehart. Yes. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, he was 10 years younger than my dad, and their mothers were sisters. Their fathers were brothers, so they were double cousins. Homer Capehart and my dad were double cousins, and their farms joined, so they kind of grew up together because of how the farms were located, and as they had the same set of grandparents,
And eventually, that branch moved into Davis County.
Yes. Homer bought a farm over in Davis County and called the Capehart Farms, of course, and that's where they had the Cornfield Conference, back in 39.
Yeah, or 38.
38 was it?
Yeah. So you were.
I was 10 years old in 38, because see, I was born in 28.
So we've had a few times throughout the last 70, 80 years, people have tried to recreate the Cornfield Conference, but that was the original Cornfield Conference.
It was, yes.
Tell us what that brought political speakers. Go ahead.
Acres and acres of tents were put up because I guess there was congressmen or politicians from every place, I guess. But I remember being there. And I remember that was the first Coke I ever tasted, because my cousins, the Haskins boys, had a watering trough full of ice and Cokes, and they gave me a Coke. And it burned my throat, but I thought it was so good. But that was in 38, you say. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just thousands and thousands of people filled that farm.
Yes. But I don't remember. See, at that age, I don't remember too much about it. Only I remember being there and being with my cousins, the Haskins boys. They were not first cousins, but...
I knew Everett Haskins. Is that a cousin?
Yes.
Was he a cousin?
Which one?
Everett?
No, not Everett. Okay. There was Harry and Bob and Ivan and Bill and Joe and Jack. Is that 7?
That's a bunch.
Okay.
So, this program is sponsored in part by the Log Inns Farm, Bed, and Breakfast, just 3 miles west of Petersburg off of State Road 56. It's peaceful, quiet, and you're surrounded by nature in a traditional farm environment. It's nestled in the countryside of a southern Indiana working farm growing grain, hay, and livestock. It incorporates 2 vintage log cabins. Call the Log Inns Farm Bed and Breakfast at 812-354-2192. Recently, the real estate market has been unpredictable, but the sun is shining, spring has sprung, and at Harris Real Estate, we have clients looking for homes and properties to buy and sell. Let us help you. Real estate is local. We are local. We know the business. We know the community. Harris Real Estate has listed and sold hundreds of properties right here. We know Pike County. Harris Real Estate, 812-380-1065. Spring is here, and it's time to get winter off of your vehicle. When you wash your vehicle on a regular basis, there are many advantages. You're easier to see, you preserve the life of your vehicle, help maintain its value, enhances vision, and it just looks better. And washing with a wand, you can get into those crevices underneath, brush with a soft bristle brush, and then hose it off. Stop by Petersburg Car Wash today, 401 South 9th Street, Petersburg. Keep it clean. You were such a close family.
Yes.
Do you have any advice or sayings that you remember from your grandparents?
My grandpa Capehart would be sitting out, after my grandma died, he would be sitting out in the yard there as I was walking home from meeting the bus. Part of the time, I would walk out to Clinty Craig's house and ride with the Algiers bus. Part of the time, I would go to the Ivy Church and ride that. But, you could do anything you wanted to do then. And Grandpa would say, well, what did you learn today? And I'd say, I studied, and I don't think anything. He'd say, well, you might as well stay at home today. I remember he always kidded me about that. But we were a close family and a religious family all the time. An honest family. I think honesty was very one thing that they really stressed, So I don't know if I'm answering your question or not.
You are. How old were you when your grandmother passed?
When my grandma died, she died in 35, and I was born in 28.
So you were 6 or 7.
Yes. I remember the night she died, all the family was there. She had diabetes, and they had called in all the family. And I know Jack Haskins, and he was about my age. I was a distant cousin, or I guess you might say. But I remember when Grandma Capehart died, and her funeral was at Ivy Church.
And that was 1935.
Yes.
Did your parents, what was the advice that they would give you on how to live your life?
Well, we had a lot of prayer. We didn't leave the house of the morning without Dad praying for us. And then he would go out, because he was a farmer, he would go out and tend to the stock. But we always had prayer. We had prayer before every meal. We had a lot of ministers. If there was a Holland revival someplace, my mom would invite the minister and his wife to our house for dinner a lot of times. We just had a lot of good Christian people in our home. And we just... Prayer was very important. And I know my dad used to say to Homer Capehart, after Homer became senator, and would visit us in Allwell, and my dad would say, Homer, don't forget your teachings. You were taught the Bible and to be honest, and don't forget, just because you're senator now, don't give in to anything that's wrong. You stand for what you think is true and stand for the right thing. And Dad would help the poor and the needy. He had a soft spot for anybody that was in need of something. And I don't know, we just had a good Christian home.
Do we still, has that followed through? That followed through with your kids?
Yes. I think so. When I was dating, and I married a wonderful Christian. Charles Burch was a wonderful person. But, I was dating different boys, but I wouldn't have considered marrying somebody that wasn't from a Christian family, because I wanted my children to have Christian grandparents on both sides. And that was one thing that I always held true to. I wouldn't have dated just anybody. Mm-hmm. But I could see the good traits in Charles and his father and mother, and some good things about him that was worth marrying 70 years ago. Mm-hmm. So,
and he was from southern Jefferson Township. He was down around Cato, wasn't he?
He was from Cato, yes. Yeah. And he was from a broken home. His mother and dad divorced when he was 4 years old. So he was raised by a stepmother, and he kind of had it hard for a while. But it made a good person out of him, I think.
And then how kids today don't have that same upbringing that you did, do
No, they don't. They don't. And that's sad because I don't know. My grandkids, some go to church and some don't. But my own children go to church. The 4 of them go to church, and claim to be Christians. So I feel like Charles and I have done a pretty good job with them, with the Lord's help.
Things break down through those generations, and thanks to this program, we get to share your story with future generations.
Good.
I'm going to go back to food. What was, I always remember my dad telling me when he stayed with his grandma and grandpa Harris in Boonville on their farm, Grandma Harris would go out early of a morning, wring a chicken's neck.
Yeah, I've seen that done. My mother would do that.
And then that became breakfast.
Yes.
And it was a heavy breakfast. It wasn't cornflakes or Pop-Tarts.
No.
It was a good chicken.
I've seen my mother wring their necks off, and I just didn't see how she could do it. And like you said, she would dress that chicken and fry it for breakfast,
What else did you have with breakfast?
I would have
chicken?
biscuits and gravy. Biscuits and gravy, yeah.
And then what was a normal lunch at your house?
My dad had hard hands, so Mom had to cook a big meal. So she would fry pork chops probably and have gravy and potatoes and green beans and things like that, things that she had canned or grew out of the garden, Tomatoes, we always had a lot of tomatoes, and
Did she keep all that in the cellar?
No. We had a well, and they would put things in a bucket, and it had a pulley, and they'd put that stuff down in the well, and they bought a ice box, long time later, and we had a chunk of ice that we just thought was in hog's heaven when we had that chunk of ice, because it was so much different, you could keep the things much cooler.
Wow. There are kids out there watching this program have no idea what an ice box is. Maybe they've heard of it.
Yes.
But before we had refrigeration, before we had ample electricity, and those big old 72-inch tall refrigerators, you had an ice box.
We had an ice box, and Dad bought it at St. Louis. He as he had horses, and he was a horse breeder and sold horses a lot of times. So he would make trips to St. Louis and get some horses, and he was a horse trader, I guess you'd say. But he bought that ice box, and you'd put a chunk of ice in the top, and then you'd have to have a pan under it. As it would melt, you had to empty that pan, keep it emptied out. But
where did the ice come from? Did you have to get it Petersburg?
We had a guy from around Ivy there. He had a wagon. He delivered ice to different places, and you'd get a 25-pound of ice and put down in that ice box.
Where did that originate from?
I imagine he got it at Jasper, but I don't know for sure.
So how big was that ice box? Probably
smaller, a little smaller than that. Yes, smaller, about like that.
And
yes,
so tall.
Yes.
It's a different world today, isn't it?
It sure is.
And
yes.
did they get mad at you if you didn't just open that door and sit and stare at the styrofoam boxes in there?
No, you sure didn't. No.
What did you keep in there?
Milk and butter and eggs, but we didn't have, I don't think we had lunch meat. I don't remember having lunch meat, but had cottage cheese because Mom made her own cottage cheese.
If you had pork chops for the hired hands, was the rest of the pig? Where was that?
In the smokehouse. We had a smokehouse, and
you just cut off what you needed at the time.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Okay. How else has life changed since the 1930s?
Well, I remember my dad getting some gas for the car and writing a check for $1. And I've got some of the canceled checks. He would get gas at Cheedy Chamniss's at Altwell.
Same place where Chamniss's is?
Yes, Wow. And then at the Ivy store, and that was Everett and Minnie Richardson run the Ivy store, and they had gas pumps, and Dad would get gas there sometimes. But I've got several checks that he would write for $1, and he would write for info gas, And
well, it's amazing to me that 80-something years later, that same gas station is right there.
Yes, yes, it sure is.
If I'm close on my gas tank and I'm close to Otwell, that's where I.
Yes.
It's a good family.
Yes, it is a good family.
Did you ever take a drive with your dad when he was going to someplace like St. Louis?
No, I didn't. No,
he didn't have Interstate 64, did he?
No. Mm-hmm. And he probably had a car that didn't have good brakes on it, and so no, I never did go with him. But
was he pulling a horse trailer?
He wasn't then. But later, as he was a horse breeder, he bought a big old Buick and had a horse trailer hooked to the back, and he would go as people needed their horses bred. Instead of them coming to the farm to have their horses bred, he would go to them. And I know.
But he didn't have a truck. He had a Buick
car, big
and
old
that would
thing,
pull that horse trailer.
And pull that horse trailer with it. And well, I know once he come home and he said, "I have been in 5 counties today," and that was really something. And I thought, here today you can be in more than 5 states and never think anything about it. But it was really an
accomplishment.
And he would let me go with him once in a while, and I would talk to the women. I would go up to the house and visit with the women,
And he was probably driving you on rural roads, probably rock roads.
Yes, that's right.
Maybe dirt roads.
That was right. That's
right.
right.
To get to those farms.
That's right. Yes.
So when we want to rabble about complaining about roads, it's and just vehicles are so much nicer today than they were then. They look pretty.
Yes.
But,
and as I always had a talent, music, I was born with a musical talent. The Lord gave me that talent. I started playing the piano when I was about 5 years old. And I've always sang when I was a little girl. I would sing at Craig's store, sang different places. But Dad asked me once, said, "Do you think you could learn to play the accordion?" And I said, "I'd try." So on one of his routes up, when he was driving this stallion horse around, he borrowed a little 2-bass accordion, and he brought it home. And it was my job. I had to gather the cows in at night to be milked. So he said, "Well, you try to see what you can do with this accordion." So when I come back from getting the cows in, I could play 2 songs on it. And Dad said, "Well, that means we're going to get you an accordion for sure." But my dad had hay fever and asthma really bad, and he really suffered with it. And in the fall of the year, my mother's, maybe you don't want to hear all this.
Oh, I'm listening.
My mother's 2 sisters and their husbands, and her brother and his wife had moved to Detroit and worked in the Ford plants up there, the men did. So in the fall of the year, they would come and get Mom and Dad and me. And see, my sister was 13 years older than me, my brother 10 years older, so I was like an only child. And we went to Detroit with them and spent 2 or 3 weeks. So Dad took me to a pawn shop up there and bought an accordion, had 12 bass notes. And after I'd conquered it, the next time up there, he traded in, we got one 48 bass notes. But then the one that we finally, Dad and I started singing together, and my accordion had 128. That's all them little buttons on the right side, left side. That's your bass notes. And so that was 128 bass notes. So that's what Dad and I sang with. And
so your dad, you and your dad, you would travel to revivals all over.
Yes. We traveled. We sang in over 200 churches, and there was a time. I've still got a copy of the churches at home, but we sang in over 200 churches, and some civic organizations would have us to sing. We was known as the Capeharts, and revivals lasted 2 weeks. So we would have been all over the tri-state in revival meetings, and. When Charles gave me my diamond ring, we wanted to get married. We were singing at Pleasant Ridge. You know where that is? Mm-hmm. And in a revival, we was booked solid from September to the 10th of April. And we wanted to get married. And I said, Dad, do you think I could take off 2 nights so we get married? And he didn't much approve of that. He said, well, he would ask the evangelist, and the evangelist said, sure, let her take 2 nights off. So we did. And so that's when, then I went right back to singing, but we was booked solid. We just sang, you probably remember Harold and Loretta Swain. Mm-hmm. Remember that name? Mm-hmm. Otis and Catherine Luttrell. We was all popular singers at the same time.
Swains were always in music.
Yes.
In fact, I had one of their descendants was in here recently.
Is that right? Yes.
Uh-huh. That is a musical family.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Charles, when did you two get married?
March the 18th, 1949.
Had he been in the service yet?
He had been, yes.
So was he World War II? He was in between Korea and World War II? He
was whenever it was in any battle, he was there to clean up. He had to quit school because you had to go to register when you was 18. So he quit school and went to service. So he was on Guam most of the time. So he wasn't in any battle at all, but he was there to kind of clean up the mess afterwards,
So when did he go into service? 1946?
It would have been, yes, about 45 or 46, I imagine.
Okay. And then he came home?
Yes.
And you started your life together?
Yes. We were friends in high school. We went to high school together, and we kind of claimed each other, but he used to laugh about it. He said, I couldn't date. They wouldn't let me date till I was 16. And so he said he didn't have a car or any money, so he kind of laughed. He said he was safe because I couldn't go out with him because he didn't have a car or money, and so we kind of laughed that we just walked the halls together. But
and that friendship began and grew and grew.
From in high school, yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to some other notes, and I want to go back. I want to go back to food and food preparation. You talked about Mom, and she would fix that big dinner.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't have that today, do we?
No, and we would. On Sunday, we didn't buy anything on Sunday. She made sure we had plenty of bread, and that was always bought on Saturday or something. We didn't buy anything on Sunday at all.
Everything shut down on Sunday.
Yes, it did.
I mean, nothing.
And we would go home with some of the church people, or Mama cook, have a big dinner meal cooked. We would invite people home to our house for Sunday dinner. And
but the restaurants, the grocery stores,
we didn't do that. And my brother liked to hunt rabbits and squirrels, and as we lived on a farm, but Dad wouldn't let him hunt on Sunday because he said, no, there's not going to be any guns shot on Sunday. And that was one thing strict. We had rules like that. But we've always had a lot of prayer and reading of the Bible. And Charles and I talked that over before we married. There was some things that I said I wouldn't allow, and he agreed to it. I said there'll never be a bottle of beer in our house, and never be a deck of cards. Now then people don't think that, but to me, I was taught that a deck of cards was wrong, so we never had that either. We just, and we had to travel around quite a bit because he was an iron worker, and we always found a Nazarene church someplace. If we was in Kennett, Missouri, or Little Rock, Arkansas, or Jeffersonville, wherever we happened to live, we just had Brian and Chrissy then, but we would find a church to go to while he was working out of town.
After your marriage, did you sing any more with your dad?
Yes, I did until Dad died in 1953, and we got married in 1949. We sung we sung at the Nazarene Church in Winslow the month before Dad died. Dad had an enlarged heart, and his health was real bad, but we sang just a month before he died. We sang at the Nazarene Church in Winslow.
How old was he?
He died when he was 66.
So your dad was born in 1890?
1886, would that be about right?
That'd be right.
I believe so. Yeah.
Moving forward, how do you think the country, the world, how are we doing today?
We're in a bad shape. I think, we've left God out of so many things, and I don't like the language that we hear on TV. I watch Fox News most of the time, but I don't like the language.
There's a lot of meanness out there, isn't there?
Yes. We just didn't allow anything like that in our home. I don't remember ever hearing Charles say a curse word. He wouldn't even said, "Oh God." Dad wouldn't let us say, "Golly." My dad said, "No, that's just a short form of saying, oh God." And so when we was kids, we didn't even say golly or gosh.
Yeah, my dad had always told me that's what his grandma Harris said.
Yeah, is that right?
You can't say darn.
No.
Nothing like that.
We didn't.
We've kind of strayed from that.
Yes, we have. Yes, and the way people dress today is so different.
You always look nice. Your hair's always perfect.
My good, thank you.
And you're always dressed very appropriately.
Well, thank you. There's a lot of nudity, too much.
We don't need to see that.
And I just can't hardly take it. But even in our church, men wears short pants, and some of them wear their caps. We wouldn't allow Brian. If you come in a building, you take your cap off,
Denise made a comment to me one time about that boy was wearing his cap in church.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, at least he's in church, but no one's ever taught him to take that hat off when you're inside. I know it. Especially in a church.
Yes.
Or at the table.
Yes.
Or wherever.
I know it.
We've kind of lost those.
Yes, we have. We're losing ground all the time, too, I think.
What else do we need to talk about, Irma? I think you and I are going to go take a drive.
Yes. Did you, have you Did you want to talk about the All Holiness Campground, or did you know anything?
Sure. I think we're going to drive out there and look at it, and we're going to go to
Ivy Church, okay.
And do you say Ivy or Iva?
I say Ivy.
Okay, I think most people do.
Yes, and you know the Holiness Campground, I don't know how much do you want me to tell you about it now, but that was a rendezvous. It was called a rendezvous. And that was a dance hall. And a wealthy woman from Otwell, May Hemsel, she was very wealthy and a Christian, and she bought that ground and turned it into a Holiness Campground. And that was in the late 30s, I guess. And there was a lot of tents and a few cabins, and A.L. Luttrell from Evansville, she had put him in charge of it, and he was a well-known radio preacher from Evansville, and he had a Bible college, and he had several young ministers that had graduated from his Bible college, and so they all attended that. So we've got some pictures to show you of that, but they were very strict. The men wouldn't even wear short sleeves. They wore long sleeves. And
I think holiness is still like that today.
Yes. And you know, well, it was different. And I'm going to tell you one thing about Charles. I thought so much, he had such good ways about him. When we were just dating and we were going out at the Holiness Camp meeting, he got word that there was an elderly couple from around Velpen that had used to come to the camp meeting, but they weren't able to get out anymore. And he said, well, if you'll get me some more information about that, I'll go get them. So the word got around, and somebody arranged it, and Charles and we drove to Velpen, and they knew we were coming. And Charles helped both of them to the car and brought them to the camp meeting, and he even helped both of them in, took them right down the front, got them a good seat. And I thought, what young man would do that? Wasn't a bit embarrassed to do that for him. And that was another good trait of Charles. I admired him for things like that. So my kids had a good dad, that's for sure.
Boy, that makes what a difference that makes.
Yes.
In just development.
I know it.
I'm blessed to have had a great dad.
Yes.
So, and that just makes a lot of difference.
I know.
My dad did not have a father growing up, and he still turned out well. But it sure helps having that dad right there in the home.
Yes, sir. Well, I was going to tell you something. Oh, I think I probably told you before, but when I was a little girl, or young girl, every night before I went to bed, I would play the piano and sing an evening prayer. And it went, if I have wounded any soul today, if I have caused one foot to go astray, if I have walked in mine own willful way, dear Lord, forgive. Forgive the sins I have confessed to thee. Forgive the secret sins I do not see. Oh, guide me, love me, and my keeper be. Dear Lord, amen. And I sung that every night before I went to bed when I was a teenager. So
we have a piano about 3.5 feet behind you. Maybe you can play that for us.
I will.
Do you still play piano at church?
I play the piano every Sunday at church.
And you're 98?
I'm 98, yes.
And you started doing this when you were?
About 4 or 5, yeah. 5 years old, I started playing the piano.
So you've been playing the piano at church since the early 1930s.
That's right, yes. And I have a natural, I don't have to have the music. So I did take a very few piano lessons, just enough to kind of read a few notes. But if I've heard the song, I usually can play it. So it has to be,
play it by ear.
God has given me a talent, yes.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yes.
Another stop we're going to visit today. We're going to stop by the Ivy Church.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to go by Delectable Hill.
Yes.
I don't think we're going to be able to get back there because
I don't think so either.
It's in a muddy field.
Yes,
and it's a bit muddy today.
Yes.
But there's a cemetery back there,
Yes.
and you can show us where the house was.
Yes.
And then we'll go visit where your other house was, a mile west of Ivy.
Okay, that's where I was born and raised. Yeah.
And you're going to show us the Holiness Campground.
Yes. Yeah.
And high school in Otwell.
What?
High school in Otwell.
I went all 12 years to Otwell High School. And when we lived on the Electoral Hill Farm, see, my brother was a senior, and I was in the first grade. And Dad wanted me to ride that bus. And one of the Mars boys, I think Levi Mars, was driving the bus. And he said I could ride the bus if I would sit on my brother's lap and pay Dad, or Dad had to pay him $0.25 a day for me to ride.
That's funny.
So my brother, sitting on your brother's lap.
Well,
I was in the floor.
He was 10 years older than you. You were 5 or 6, and he was, or 6 or 7, and he was 16 or 17.
Yes. And he wasn't impressed at all.
Bet not.
Yeah.
But you were his little sister.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit spoiled.
Probably
by the
was.
siblings.
And
Mom
when
and
we
Dad.
would have company in our home, and Mom would be in the kitchen cooking, she'd say, "You go in the other room, play the piano, and entertain them," because Mom didn't want people around while she was cooking, and she wanted the company and stay in the other room. So that's what I would do. But
You were the entertainment.
yes, and my sister, I was 5 when my sister got married, so
She would have been 18. Your sister would have been 18 when you were 5.
Yes. So she didn't appreciate that at all, because she took lessons and she couldn't hardly learn. And I would say, "Scoot over and let me show you how that goes," because if the teacher played it a couple of times, I could play it. So they didn't appreciate me then at all.
You are correct. That is a gift from God.
Yes, I guess so. I hope I can live up to what was expected of me.
Back then you were talking about keeping a bucket with food in it in the well to keep things closed.
Yes.
You didn't have styrofoam boxes and Ziploc bags.
No, we didn't. No. We sure didn't.
But you survived without them.
We sure did.
Did you probably didn't have leftovers like we do today.
We didn't. No, we sure didn't.
You probably ate what was prepared, and Mom probably prepared
Yes.
only what you needed.
That's right, yes. And we had scrambled eggs. It seemed like we had, in the summertime, a lot of evening meals would be scrambled eggs with, and sliced tomatoes. We had plenty of things like that. And we didn't feel like we was needy or put upon at all.
So is that diet what you're describing to us? That's healthier than what we have today, isn't it?
I think so, yes. We had a big garden, and like we said, chickens and eggs and pork and beef, so we were doing fine.
Right. We started out talking about it. 250 years. We're getting ready to celebrate 250 years. Patriotism. Mm-hmm. Are we having a revival in that right now?
I know it. It's just so different. I can remember back when when there was a lot of soldier boys killed in World War II. Dad and I were singing. Then I was playing the accordion, and Dad and I were singing. And, we sung for their funerals. And then they had service flags in all the churches. And the boys that were from the church or the community had a star, on their flag. They would dedicate that flag. And Dad and I would sing patriotic songs for them. They seemed like they gave them a lot more patriotism than they do today, I think.
And we have so much to be thankful for.
So much.
Because of that sacrifice.
They gave their all, didn't they?
They did.
Yes.
To keep us free.
That's right.
So we could be rabble.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
When did women start wearing slacks?
Well, let's see. I wasn't wearing them an awful lot in 53, because that's when Dad died. I guess I was wearing them some. But now this is about all women wearing them.
Do you, back in the day, you didn't have Amazon. Do you get packages from Amazon or
I don't
mail
know.
order? That's pretty popular way of shopping today.
I don't.
Did you have anything come from Sears and Roebuck?
I used to, yes. In Montgomery Ward.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been a long time ago.
What were your chores? You know, you're describing that. You're describing the ice box, and we
Yes.
compared it to a big old refrigerator. Washing machine.
My mother had a Maytag washer machine, and Dad would have to bring the plug. What kind of plug is it? Fire, not. Well, anyhow, she'd have to bring. He'd have spark plug. He'd have to bring it in and put it on the stove and heat it, and then take it back out to the washer. And you had a pedal or a thing. You know, he had to step on that and get the washer started.
Where did that washing machine sit?
It was out in the smokehouse, out close to where we had the meat, you know. And it had a wringer washer. So I've always remembered having a washing machine, and I always remember having a telephone. We always had a telephone.
Huh.
And our ring was number 5, and some of Clinty Craig's was 4, and some
So
was
you
3.
had a party line.
We had a party, and we listened in. And Mom would say, "I just passed down, and I passed by and took down." That's the way she would word it. She acted like she just happened to go by the phone and it was ringing, and so she listened in, you know. But
Just enough to know it wasn't for her.
Yeah. And you know, if we were going to be gone through the day, my dad would call Grace Scraper. She was the operator at Otwell, and he would say, "Grace, this is Emmett. I'm going to be gone today. If I get any calls, you take them, and I'll call you when I get back." So when we'd get back home, he would call Grace. He'd say, "Did I have any calls then?" She'd say, "Yes, Emmett." She'd tell him who all had called him that day, you know. That was how.
That was an answering service.
Yes, it was, yes.
That might be nice sometimes. What other chores did you have as a kid?
I had to shake the rugs. My mom was kept the house very clean. I had to shake the rugs.
Did you put them on a clothesline and beat them or anything like that?
Just go at the door and shake
them.
them. And then I had to clean the lamp chimneys because they would get smoked up. And I had to clean the lamp chimneys. And then you just done that with a rag and water and get the
soot off of it.
Get them to shine again. That's about all I had to do. I didn't have to do an awful lot. I just played the piano and got by with it.
Do you remember any old sayings that, you know, that have become lost? Like, I always remember, fit as a fiddle. Early bird gets the worm. Yes. Did you have any sayings like that?
Yes, I'm sure they did. I'm trying to think if I remember anything. I can't think of anything come to mind right now, but...
you mentioned your eyes are starting to fail, and your hearing's starting to fail.
Yes.
Do you still get to read your Bible?
Yes, I do. I have to hold it up close, and then I've got some with pretty big print. Yeah.
Okay. Irma, it's such a joy to spend time with you again.
Well, I've enjoyed it too.
Anything else we need to talk about that we haven't mentioned?
I was trying to think.
Well, you know, your closets back in the day.
You what?
Your closet? You didn't have the wardrobe that you do today.
No, we didn't.
What did you have back then? Did you have a closet in the house?
Yes. Yes, in the house I grew up in, I had 2 closets. Yes, I did have, and I had a little rat terrier dog that slept with me at night, and her name was Betty, because I had a cousin, Betty Ann, that I thought so much of, and I named my dog Betty Ann. And so this little dog slept with me. So I did have that for company, But I had a closet, and I don't know. Mom was just a good manager, I guess.
Were your clothes made out of flour sacks or anything
Some of them were.
like that?
Some of them were. Yes, I had Mom had a niece that was a good seamstress, and she would make us clothes out of feed sacks.
Well, it is all fascinating. It really wasn't that long ago, but it was.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Irma, we so appreciate you coming in.
Well, thank you. I hope I haven't just rattled on and not been of any help to you at all.
Oh, you're great. Thank you.
I was trying to think if there's anything else that I can.
I had made a lot of notes, but I think we've other than I keep coming back to our food is so much different.
Yes.
You didn't have Jell-O back then, but you had gelatin. Didn't have any flavor.
Did you what?
You had gelatin.
I guess so.
But you didn't. And you were on that farm. You had eggs.
Yes.
Did you pickle stuff and put them in jars?
I don't think Mom. I don't believe she did. I don't believe that she did.
You know something you don't see that much anymore that I loved?
Pickles?
My grandpa loved jowl bacon.
Oh, yes.
That was tasty.
That was Joel bacon, you say?
Yeah.
Yes. That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
It was cheaper then. When I found it today, it's not any cheaper.
I know it. Somebody was telling me that the other day, that it was so expensive now, but it was good.
Mm-hmm. Well, Irma, we thank you for coming in. Let's go take a drive.
We'll just do that. Okay. That'll be fine. And I don't know of anything else that has really happened that I want to tell you about. If I think of it, I'll butt in.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for this program of WFPC Podcasting. The program is brought to you by Hathaway Excavating and Rock Yard, Schultz Eye Care, the Log Ends Farm Bed and Breakfast, the Dustin Schneer Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agency, Harris Real Estate, and Petersburg Car Wash. Please thank our sponsors for their continued investment in Pike County. A new program appears each Friday on WFPC Podcasting, exploring the people, information, and news right here in Pike County. See you next week.
Thanks for watching WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. From back roads to town centers, we bring you the voices, stories, and news that shape our community. Join us on this journey through the past, present, and future of Pike County, Indiana. Tune in next week for the next episode of WFPC Podcasting.